All right. First thing I want to ask you is, how did you get into OVW? Did you try out? Did you call? Did they call you? How did that work?
So funny, Inferno Kid, who we both know, actually was down there and had told me about a tryout training camp that they were doing. And, I was living with Judas Young, Brian at the time. And, he had told both of us, and I was like, I'll send in an application, like big deal. Like I'm never going to get picked. Right. So I sent it in and they say, yes, we want to have you. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't think I was going to get picked. So I was like, I'll just go. It's a 3, I do Friday, Saturday, Sunday loops, like no big deal. Right. So I went down and, it was really cool. I was one of 2 girls in the whole class. We stayed at one of the Econo Lodges or something like that, did the classes, saw Dr. Tom, worked with Rip Rogers, the whole shebang, Danny Davis. And so I'll just do the weekend, came home, no big deal. Called Danny Davis that following week and just said, hey, thanks. I really appreciate it. Had a good time, blah, blah, blah. And, he had just said, we really enjoyed you. We really think that you have a lot to offer. We want you to come down to OVW, and made it very clear it was OVW. It was not WWE. They were very big on that because it was a developmental at the time. So, it was really Inferno that kind of gave me that push and know that was even there to just say, come on down. And it was comforting to know he was already there. So, did all the, did the beginners class, kind of went into the intermediate, and that was the start of OVW for me.
So you're trying out just to work out there. You're not trying out for a job back then. You're just trying out so you can go to their classes every week.
Right. Yep. They made it very clear, even though it was a developmental territory back then for WWE, and there was a contracted class. Anybody that went to OVW was OVW. You paid tuition. You only went to their classes. And yes, you could help out for some of the TV shows they did, but it was never promised. It was never guaranteed. You were not guaranteed to see, any of the higher ups and executives for WWE, but you just knew you needed to be in the mecca of where everything was happening anyway, because you were going to learn. But Danny Davis made it very clear, which is good, because I think a lot of people have that stigma of thinking, I'm going to go down there and get signed. I mean, it took Beth a long time to get signed. It took Nick Dinsmore a long time to get signed. They followed that dream too. So yeah, it was just to take that chance, take that risk.
Besides Danny and Rip, who else was in charge? Who were the trainers down there?
When I did the classes, when I first got there, it was mostly Rip Rogers. But Mike Mondo helped him out a lot. And he's phenomenal. So, so Danny Davis, Al Snow was, I think when I got there, I think Lance Storm was on his way out, and Cornette were on their way out, and then Al came in. So it was like on the cusp of that transition. But for the beginners or intermediate classes, it was Rip Rogers, who's rough, but you have to understand that Southern wrestling veteran mentality. He's rough for a reason, and he teaches you really the basics of it. So, I don't regret any of his classes. He teaches you just so much, and he's just so unique, and you have to get used to his personality. He's a worker too. So he was rough, as he's rough on everybody. But yeah, so that was, I didn't see Dr. Tom until only during that one tryout weekend. It was mostly just Rip and Danny Davis initially, and then Al Snow. And when Al came in, Paul Heyman also did their TVs and was kind of like doing a writer thing. He wasn't there all the time. He would just come in for the TVs. So those were the higher up people that were there when I was there.
What was your impression of Paul Heyman?
I didn't get to talk to him a lot because I wasn't in the contracted class, but I would show up for the TVs. I luckily had networked enough that I knew a lot of the people that were already signed and already there. So the girl that was the ring girl couldn't show or couldn't be there or whatever the reason. And I was like, can I do it? Like I asked. And so I was on the show very quickly, but just as the ring girl next to, the announcers and stuff like that. So, but I didn't get to really talk to Paul until I got signed, because he was like out of touch, like not out of touch, but like in the office with Danny writing the show and all of that stuff. So it was more of a distance kind of thing. I'd say hello, but it was, you know, he was busy doing his thing and, you know, had an agenda. So, and then once I got signed, he did our first, well, Deuce Domino and Cherry's debut on OVW TV. And then he was brought back up to main roster to work heavier on there. So I had like one episode that I worked with him on. So